Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. What you're about to hear is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. It all began with a logistics memo. Routine, boring, buried beneath a dozen replies in an email chain. But it became the crack in the dam. The message wasn't leaked, hacked, or uncovered in a raid. It was simply forwarded by mistake, and by the time it reached the courtroom, it was too late. Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, once the biggest musical event on the planet, was now linked to something far more disturbing: disappearances, secret lists, unauthorized backstage entries. Behind the sparkle of sold-out shows and viral TikToks was a machine no one had suspected. A machine prosecutors now claim used the Eras Tour not as a concert, but as a trap. The courtroom leaned in. The judge adjusted his glasses. And then a name that was never supposed to come up flashed across the screen. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't even classified. It was something more dangerous. An email chain. A logistics memo titled VIP Review, Nashville plus Tampa. On the surface, it was business as usual. Venue checks, access lists, digital passes. But buried 12 replies deep, one red highlighted line changed everything. Send the scout names directly to LA. Mark, home, M. The courtroom froze. Prosecutors stopped mid-sentence. The defense objected. But it was already official. Exhibit 42A. Not because of what it said, but because of who it mentioned. Hidden in the operational details of the most successful pop tour in the world was a direct connection to Sean Diddy Combs. The Eras Tour wasn't supposed to be part of this trial. Taylor Swift's name was never expected to come up. Certainly not in a federal courtroom hearing about human trafficking, surveillance, and manipulation. But now it had. And it wasn't just a name. It was a system, a funnel, a platform for something far darker. Pages were quickly sealed, but the press had already seen enough. The memo came from an old Swift LLC email address, one that had been inactive until a newly hired social coordinator unknowingly reactivated it. They'd BCC'd an outdated contact, which was still linked to a corporate archive. When that archive was subpoenaed in a separate investigation into Diddy's business sponsors, the memo resurfaced, and with it, so did the fan experience database from the Eras Tour, now in federal hands. That's when prosecutors found the first trace of something called the Crimson 10, a flagged list of names under a folder titled Scout Sync. The prosecutor's voice trembled as he read it aloud. These weren't fans. These were targets. The courtroom went silent, because now the case was no longer just about what Diddy did. It was about who helped him do it, and how many of them never even knew they were part of the machine. It started with something simple. Photo. A girl standing outside the Eras Tour Stadium in Dallas. Glitter on her cheeks, a sequined dress, a wide, carefree smile, and a red wristband. Nothing out of the ordinary, until the prosecution displayed 5 more photos. 5 cities. 6 girls. 6 identical red wristbands. Not sold by Ticketmaster. Not part of any VIP package, and never acknowledged by Taylor Swift's team. On the courtroom screen, the images lit up side by side. The wristbands weren't flashy. They weren't bold. They were subtle, matte red, almost unnoticeable. But according to an FBI tech analyst, each one concealed something far more dangerous. A passive RFID chip. These weren't fan accessories, the analyst said. They were surveillance tools, designed for discrete asset tracking, the soft. RFID tags activated in crowded spaces, pinging location data within a limited range. In plain terms, the girls were being tracked. Then came the testimony of a mother. Her daughter had won a swift surprise Instagram lottery, an exclusive acoustic performance before the concert. A few days later, a plain envelope arrived. No branding, no instructions, just a red wristband and a venue address. Her daughter went. She never came back. Security footage showed her entering through a side gate. Not the fan entrance. She was logged in under crew access. Intern. But Swift's staff had no record of her. That entrance was designated for production overflow. And from there, the trail went cold. Other girls linked to red wristbands turned up at unrelated events, under Diddy's branding. One was seen at a 2022 fashion launch, underage, unpaid, and listed as crew through a modeling agency that has since quietly dissolved. Prosecutors revealed that the agency shared banking infrastructure with a Combs-connected company, Pulse Guest Relations. At this point, it was no longer coincidence. The red wristbands weren't merchandise. They were selection tools. Then came the message that froze the courtroom. A leaked internal group text shown to the jury. Crimson 10 is locked. No resyncs. Only push. Model Night 2. Group text only. The gallery went still. The girls were being tagged, routed, and disappeared. And the Eras Tour, it wasn't the target, it was the delivery system. This evidence wasn't found in an office drawer. It wasn't pulled from a server. It wasn't seized in a raid. It came from the very system meant to entertain, and hid something far more chilling beneath the glitter and music. It wasn't found in a server farm or through a whistleblower. It was discovered in a scuffed red Pelican case, tucked away in a storage unit rented under a fake name. Inside, a solid-state drive, labeled simply Miami Night 6, Combs. The prosecution introduced it as Exhibit 42B. The lights dimmed, the contents loaded. Hundreds of files. One folder stood out. Scout Chuddy Sync. Inside, video logs, internal emails, and field reports, each one adding to a sickening pattern. Then the courtroom. Heard clip 388, a transcript was read aloud. Yo, this is confirmation. Swift VIP pulls are clean. Forwarded to Shell East. List contains initials TS Fuare's flag. Don't touch her. She's heat right now. The room froze. Taylor Swift wasn't accused. She was referenced as a warning, not a target. A shield. Someone with power had clearly intervened. The phrase, "she's heat right now," triggered an emergency review. It meant she had already been approached, and someone had made sure it wouldn't happen again. But that warning didn't extend to the fans, especially not the ones wearing red wristbands. The drive outlined a recurring event series, codenamed Celebrity Convergence. Lavish gatherings at luxury mansions, timed with music festivals, tour stops, award shows. May 2023, Miami. The Eras Tour had just passed through. According to the Scout Sync logs, field scouts had been deployed near the venue. Then came the testimony of Witness 12, a former private security contractor for Combs. His job? Logistics and perimeter control. But his statement shifted everything. It wasn't protection. It was movement. These girls weren't being kept safe. They were being rerouted. When asked directly how Swift's tour factored in, he was blunt. She didn't know. But they used her. It's a machine. Stadium shows, constant flow, tens of thousands of people. The perfect cover. One final image locked it all together. A building schematic. Star Island. A luxury estate labeled Combs Production. Retreat! On the night of Swift's Miami show, Guest records listed a visitor with a name closely resembling someone from her management team. She didn't enter, but her assistant did. Witness 12 stared straight ahead and said, "I think they were hoping she'd be the new cover." She had the audience. She had the shield. At this point, the courtroom was no longer focused solely on Diddy. They were staring at something much bigger. A system. By day 4, the gallery had grown numb, accustomed to leaked documents, digital forensic logs, red wristbands, and missing girls. But everything changed when the prosecution called a mother to the stand. Her voice trembled, not from fear of the courtroom, but because it was the first time anyone had ever listened. Her daughter, aged 20, had entered what she believed was an Eras Tour VIP fan experience lottery. It all began with a post from a verified Instagram account. Swift surprise events. Blue check, clean branding, thousands of followers. It had even been reshared by a well-known, verified music blogger. The message was simple. Limited edition. Acoustic show. Invite only. Enter your details. Tag a friend. And wait. She did. A week later, a red wristband arrived by mail. No branding. No welcome card. Just the band. And a time slot printed on a plain white label. She was thrilled, certain she had been selected for something magical. Secret Taylor Swift event, maybe even a meet and greet. The time slot, 2 hours before the concert. The location, a separate gate near the Dallas Stadium, labeled Private Load In Only. Her mother drove her, watched her daughter disappear behind the side entrance. She never saw her again. The courtroom went still as the prosecution displayed the last known image. Security footage of the girl waving at a loading truck, turning a corner near the restricted gate. A timestamp confirmed her entry, but no footage ever showed her leaving. She was never recorded entering the actual concert grounds. Her phone pinged once after entry. Then, nothing. The defense objected, calling it coincidence. But then, the prosecution unveiled the real blow. A second image. Another girl. Same red wristband. This time she wasn't at a concert. She was registered as crew at a 2022 fashion event hosted by Comemies Global. She was 19, unpaid, her work history traced through a now-dissolved modeling agency. That agency, prosecutors revealed, shared banking links with Pulse Guest Relations, a firm with no physical address, no clear staff, but dozens of digital contracts under fan engagement, services tied to Swift's tour infrastructure. This wasn't random. This was a system. According to the FBI's digital forensics team, Pulse operated as a shell contractor, piggybacking off legitimate VIP fan channels through ghost accounts, profiles designed to mimic fan-run giveaway pages, but built to do three things: collect personal data, identify VIP targets, deliver fake credentials to fake events. The prosecution read a batch of leaked texts sent from one of these ghost pages. The courtroom audibly reacted. Push Crimson 10, only to final shortlist. Do not sync to merch list. Route directly to Pulse. Confirm VIPs received. Night 2 invite. Group text only. No individual comms. Diddy wants models. Age ceiling. Chapman 25. This wasn't fan outreach. This was trafficking by design. Wrapped in glitter. Hidden under music. Engineered for extraction, not experience. Day 5 of the trial opened with a single name that stunned even the most jaded. Courtroom reporters Ariana Grande. She wasn't part of the Eras Tour. She had no collaboration with Swift. She wasn't even involved. And yet, her name had entered the record. She was performing on an entirely different coast. So why was Ariana Grande's name on Exhibit 42FA? The prosecution called their next witness, a digital systems analyst from a cyber forensics firm. His assignment? Unravel the back end of a collapsed marketing company linked to Combs Global. He pulled up a document, title AG Guest Clause. Carryover from Crimson. The courtroom leaned forward. "What does this clause refer to?" the prosecutor asked. The analyst scrolled through pages of internal architecture. Then, clearly, it's a back-end retention marker. It enables the transfer of active tracker data from one event system to another without the primary artist's knowledge. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying Ariana Grande's event received active surveillance data originally collected from Taylor Swift's tour?" "Yes, Your Honor," the analyst replied. "The RFID tags in the red wristbands were migrated between event infrastructures." Then came the chilling detail. The Crimson 10, the group of red wristband girls, had been tracked not just through Swift's events, but into other ecosystems. A photo was shown. Two of the same girls from earlier evidence now entering Ariana Grande's fragrance launch in Miami. But not through the guest line, through a service elevator. They were never seen at the actual event. They weren't on public attendance records. They were listed on a sealed VIP list, maintained by Diddy's private security. The prosecution called their next witness, a former concierge at the Yai Hotel, where the launch was hosted. When shown the security stills, he went pale. "I remember them," he whispered. "They weren't there for the party." "What do you mean?" "They looked scared, like they had a job to do, but didn't know what it was." "Was Ariana present?" "Yes, upstairs, performing. She had no idea anyone else was even in that hallway." The prosecution ended the segment with a slide. Celebrity pass-through model. Tier 1 talent as visibility shields. The theory: massive, uncontroversial artists were being used as cover, not knowingly, not willingly, but their platforms, their venues, their security, their noise provided perfect concealment. In that moment, the courtroom didn't see celebrities anymore. They saw pawns, infrastructure hijacked, fame weaponized. It had already been a brutal week. Testimonies, data dumps, missing girls, encryption trails. And then, the final witness entered. Plain clothes. A federal badge marked "Protected Witness." He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But he had been inside, a backup dancer on the southeast leg of the Eras tour, the leg most heavily connected to red wristbands, lost credential logs, and unexplainable crew entries. When he sat down, the judge asked if he was ready. He nodded. 5. Words changed the atmosphere completely. "I saw the wrong tape." He described the moment, Atlanta, post-rehearsal. He walked backstage to grab a water bottle. The green room was locked. Strange, but not unheard of. Then a woman in a red dress stepped out. Shaken, silent. No crew pass, just the wristband. "You good?" he asked. She didn't answer. When he walked in, he expected catering. Maybe crew notes. Instead, a black curtain on a tripod. Rig a fake interview, set up a camera recording. Red light blinking, a woman sitting, crying silently. 2 men in suits, watching. A table nearby with folders, headphones, a sparkling water can. He stood, frozen. Then one of the men rose calmly and said, "Wrong green room. This one's private." He backed out, apologized. They were harvesting. The courtroom, already dulled by horror, fell into absolute silence. The FBI's forensic data analyst took the stand next. he traced the ERA Surprise Selection Initiative, a campaign whispered about, in fandom circles but never publicly acknowledged. It operated through private DMs, email drops, and so-called exclusive engagement portals. The invites always looked the same: sleek, minimal branding, vague promises, and a timestamp. The only proof of participation? A red wristband. But they weren't giveaways. They were filters. The system was designed to select targets. The Diddy analyst explained, not randomly, not based on luck, based on appearance, geography, and online activity. The prettier the profile, the more engagement, the higher the chance of being shortlisted. He tapped the screen, bringing up a database called Pulse Node Tracker, an internal interface used to log and sort applicants. It included filters like facial symmetry, event proximity, parental supervision risk, social impact, potential, age flag ceiling 24. They weren't seeking fans. They were building inventories. The final slide was a company org chart, deceptively simple. At the top, Comames Experience Group; below, dozens of shell entities and fake marketing firms. One name was repeated across multiple branches: Pulse Guest Relations. Beneath that, a note, in bold: link all CGE campaigns under one directive. Crimson. It wasn't just about one girl, or one necklace, or one tour. This was infrastructure, a layered operation that exploited the machinery of entertainment, using celebrity, fan culture, and the illusion of access to mass systematic trafficking. The girl who left the necklace had been documenting, in her own way. She hadn't run. She'd tried to leave a key. Literally. A recording. A biometric tag. A traceable code. She may not have made it out, but she cracked the machine from the inside. And now, the courtroom knew. Her face was blurred. Her back was to the stage. While thousands celebrated in chorus, she was moving away. The freeze frame wasn't what stunned the courtroom, it was the time code. 42 p.m., Taylor hadn't finished her set. The show was still peaking. No one leaves then, not unless they have to. The prosecution zoomed in. The matte red wristband matched those documented across every prior incident. Crimson 10. But this girl had never been identified. She wasn't part of the official VIP registry. She wasn't listed in any engagement campaign. She was unregistered, and still, she had the band. The assistant prosecutor stepped forward, voice low. We call this figure Echo. Not because we know her, but because she keeps appearing. In Miami, Vegas, Dallas, always just outside the lens, always just leaving. Another clip loaded, this one from Denver, a fan vlog. In the reflection of a merch booth screen, a familiar silhouette passed behind them. Red dress, steady pace, unacknowledged. If this girl is a victim, she's the only one who's returned. If she's not, then she's something else entirely. The case files had referred to her as a potential monitor, a term used in trafficking networks for internal couriers or watchers, someone who knows the doors, someone who knows when to walk out before the curtain falls. The courtroom stared at the paused screen. The exit sign behind her flickered, her face still unreadable. The music loud, but the silence louder. And then, in a final detail only visible in the last 3 seconds, she turned slightly, not toward the camera, not toward the crowd, but toward a mirrored wall near the stairwell. Her reflection showed one hand raised, 2 fingers touched to her temple. A signal. The lights came back on. No one spoke. because no one could answer the question echoing through every mind in that courtroom. Was she walking away from something or toward someone? The courtroom sat in stunned stillness. A billion-dollar tour, tens of millions in merch, record sales, views, endorsements, and behind it, a mechanism, not public, not advertised, not even real, until now. The face on the screen, last seen August 2023, matched a Crimson 10 profile tagged Final Invite. Her last message on social? Can't believe this is happening. I'm shaking. Then, nothing. She had been marked as attended. Her wristband was scanned. She was noted in backstage records, but she was never logged out. No one knew where she went, only that she went quietly. She thought she had won something, the prosecutor said, and maybe, in the cruelest way, she had. She won the right to disappear quietly. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a scene. It was a vanishing. And the court now understood the pattern. The show was the front. The wristband was the pass. The prize was the trap. The judge sat back in his chair. No objections. No statements. Just the silent acknowledgement that something had happened, and no one could unsee it. And then the prosecutor asked the final question. If Taylor Swift's tour was the shield, then who was the sword? There was no answer. Not yet. But everyone in the courtroom felt it. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far bigger.